All right, young scholars. Today we're going to work through this bark and barge zip today. So go ahead and download that. When you download it, you'll have the zipped version. You'll have to extract all, and then you'll open your regular folder within Android Studio. And once you run it, you'll notice that you have three potential options: photos, tour, and website. And we're going to modify all of this today. And you'll also see within this app, there's already a back button set up for you. And I'll show you that. Additionally, I added this creating a back button with one function. And you'll see in this document, you have a video of how to do that if you wanted to do that for your app. You would have to create Java code, which would be your package, whatever you named your app, followed by the remaining Java code here, which just creates this onCreate instance of the example. But then you need to create your display, your XML. So in this example, it's called activity underscore page 2. And then below here, you have your XML code where this material button or back button is set up. So if you happen to want to use that on your app, that's more than fine with me. Couple of things I want to point out while we are waiting for everybody to download that bike and barge and upload it and open it in Android Studio. This homework assignment 6 due Sunday night. I mentioned, we talked about how you're going to make money with your app last week or 2 weeks ago. This week, it's focusing on, hey, there's going to be a cost of security associated with it. How do we offset that? Do we have to increase our advertising prices? Do we want to make more in-app purchases, etc.? So keep in mind that that is the last assignment other than your group project. There's still a couple of you that need to get me app 3. Make sure you go ahead and do that as soon as you can. So unfortunately, I have some bad news with respect to our groups. So there was 2 students in the class. You'll notice here it now says 7 out of 7. We started the week with 9 students. Unfortunately, 2 of those students hadn't done any assignments all semester. And I guess rather than do the work, they decided to drop the course. So unfortunately now, Lana is all alone in her own group. So we have the 2 other groups of Brian, Naya, and Kesney, and Zaza, Dwayne, and Felix. I'm wondering which group would like to add Lana. So this way we don't have to say, okay, let's reassign the groups. This way we could just have Lana join one of the 2 groups and there's no big deal. So Zaza, Dwayne, and Felix is the one group, and Brian, Naya, and Kesney is the other group. Which group would like to add Lana? Don't all speak up at once now. Okay. So Zaza's group is fine with adding Lana. So I'm going to
Oh, yeah.
see if this is going to work easily. Uh, so Zaza, Felix, was it Dwayne? I think that's right. Yes. Okay. So that didn't work. Let's try that again. Zaza, Felix, Dwayne, Lon. Okay, there we go. No, it still says 0. Okay, whatever. That's not working the way it's supposed to. Um, so Lana, just go ahead and reach out to Zaza, Dwayne, and Felix after class. You're going to join their group because the 2 members of your group, um, as I mentioned, decided to drop. Or Zaza, Dwayne, and Felix can just enter their emails in there. You could reach out and have them add you to whatever group chat they may have already had set up. So again, make sure that you're going to download that bike and barge, the zip folder, extract it, unzip it, so that you have your regular folder here, so that you can open it, so that it builds in Android Studio. So since there might still be a few people waiting on that, I also want to point out that we're kind of getting into the nitty gritty here. So next week, we'll have 2 more sessions like we've been doing where we're going to work and play around with an app. Then you have the following week off. I'm pretty sure the university closed the Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. So I gave you that whole week off, relax, get back into the swing of things. Then the following week, like I said, I'll be on Zoom. Your groups are going to meet and make sure that everything's, ready for the following week for your presentation. I'll be on Zoom for you to pop in and ask questions as you need that week. And then, like I said, since we are now in a position where we'll easily get the group projects done on that Monday, 12/4, that the Wednesday 12/6 meeting will be basically an extra credit exercise. So there's 7 students, let's say, 3 of you need it, the 3 of you would show up and I just come up with something for you to do. It would probably be somewhere in between, the assignments were 3%, the apps were 10%. So it'd be somewhere in between that 3 to 10% range to add to your total score. Hopefully, you know, once you get through your presentations on the Monday and I grade them, everybody will be in good shape for an A. So we'll be good to go there. And here's a reminder again of how the group project's going to be scored. And that is in the 12.4 and 12.6 folder. And again, I think Kesney just popped in. So again, the creating a back button with one function document there has a video, and I provided the code of how you would create a back button if you were just going to do just that back button on a page here. But when we run this app and we play around with this, you'll notice here when you click photos, you have this back button here with the words item detail next to it. You do the same with tour. The item detail back button is there. So it goes from the one view back to the first view. I'm not going to click website because that goes to a website, and then I'll have to rerun the app for you. So if you go ahead and open everything once you've built your app into Android Studio, you'll notice there's much more information or displays than usual. We have 3 different Java files instead of 1 or 2, like we've usually seen. We have a bunch of different layout views instead of 1 or 2 like we've previously seen. We have our activity underscore item detail. We have our item list content, photos, and tour. So I'm going to start with the activity underscore item detail file. So you'll notice here that we have a fragment container view. Which refers to our fragment item detail, which first starts with a app bar layout, then a collapsing toolbar layout, then a toolbar, then a nested scroll view, then a web view, and a floating action button. Then we have a fragment item list, which includes those 3 options here: photos, tour, website. So then you'll see item list content here, which gives us those 2 text views for photos and tour. When you were to click on the photos option, we have to have its own separate view. So you click on photos, you have 3 photos with explanations associated with them. And you notice that the pictures are pretty big. So first we have that image view, the first image. Then we have the text associated with it. And we set it up in a table in order to match, okay, the image is in the right and the left cell, rather. The text is in the left cell, or right cell, rather. And then it does the same for 2 other images. So we have an image, and an explanation. And then the third image, third explanation. So what I'm hoping to do that we can go through today is modify this a little to, let's say, make it a travel app related to, let's say, Italy. Let's say we wanted to travel to Italy. We could change this up and do that. Then you have the tour.xml, which gives you the viewing pane when you click tour. It's basically just kind of an explanation. Summer Bike and Barge Europe Tour, and then extra info below. And you see that text view here was that first piece of information. And then the second text view there was that additional piece of information. And as you've seen many, many, many times over, all of that is set up in our strings.xml. So up at the top here, you notice it says items list fragment. We're used to it saying the app name. You know, Bike and Barge is the app name. We're used to that being at the top of our specific page. However, within our code, we have it set up as item list fragment, which I'll show you as we get through the remainder of the app. But we want to change this to be, you know, like a tour of Italy. So what can we change the app name and the title item detail to? Italy tour, tour of Italy. What's the best way to describe it? No one? Oh, we got some answers. Italy tours. Okay. That works. So within strings, we change the first two to Italy tours. If we were to click on tour, it says Summer Bike and Barge Europe Tour. Join us for et cetera, et cetera. What do we want to say instead of Summer Bike and Barge Europe Tour? Maybe Italy is more fun in the winter. I don't know. What would we like to say? Italy has awesome pizza.
Maybe Italy's best touring spots and best time to visit and best foods to eat. I don't know if that's too long.
Italy has the best touring spots, places to eat. And what was the last one?
Best seasons or times of the year.
Okay. So then maybe we just have the second one as a much shorter description. And change that to just say, join us for your dream vacation. So if we go ahead and sync, and run our app. When we click on that tours option now, it'll say Italy has the best touring spots, places to eat, and best seasons. Join us for your dream vacation. But as you saw in this example here, some of it may be cut off. So we might have to make some adjustments within our tours.xml file. Okay, so now we click tour. Italy has the best touring spots, places to eat, and best seasons. Join us for your, and that's cut off. So if we go back in and open tour.xml, we notice that our first text view is 40 SP as the text size, or 50 SP rather, and our second is also 50 SP for the text size. So let's say we drop them down to 35. Make each of the text size 35 SP. Because with 50, it doesn't look too great. Our second one is completely cut off. Our first one is too big. It looks a little out of sync. So once we change from 50 SP to 35 for both of our text sizes, we can go ahead and sync and then run again. Now when we click tour, our first one looks good. Everything's in the center. There's nothing out of place. It's not caught up. But our second one, join us for your dream vacation, vacation's still cut off. So let's go ahead and make that second text view, drop it down to 25 SP. This way, all of our text will be in that text viewing pane. We sync, we run again. And now when we click tour, it's all there. Even though it's off to the right a little more than we'd like, it still looks okay. You could always drop that down from 25 to 20 if you so choose to make it, the vacation would probably stop over here because it would be a little less text size. But for our purposes, that should be good enough. So you notice still we have that item detail with our back button, so we can go back. Next, we want to edit this photos. So let's go and find three random images here. I'm just going to search tour of Italy. And I should have known better that the first couple results were going to be Olive Garden. And I'm just going to save these 3 pictures here that I found. Okay, so I'm going to save that as Italy 1. And I'm going to save this one as Italy 2. And I'm going to save this last one, obviously, as Italy 3. So now I have to go and take all of those 3 pictures I just downloaded, go into my app, go into the app folder, SRC for source folder, main, res, and I go into the drawable folder, but I notice that there's nothing there. That's fine. You'll notice that there's the drawable version 24 folder. When you click on that, you notice that's where the images are. So that's where I'm going to paste them. You'll have to check when you're building. So if it's already in drawable, you drop them in drawable. But if they're in the drawable version 24 folder, you use that one instead. And if you put them in the right spot, when you scroll up, they should now appear in the drawable folder. But that means we now have to go in our photos.xml. So originally we have the first image is a bike. The second image is a barge. And the third image is Budapest. So since I just named all mine Italy 1, Italy 2, Italy 3, I'm just going to put them in order. The now at drawable instead of bike, it's going to be Italy 1. We'll leave the text for now because we could change that in our strings.xml folder. The barge now becomes Italy 2. For your source at drawable. And the last one, Budapest, now becomes Italy 3. So I'm going to file sync. And run to check that my new images are now showing up. So now when we click the first option here, photos, it now gives us, or now gives me those 3 images that I just downloaded and put in the window or the viewing pane. You'll notice that our text is, way off to the right-hand side, kind of cut off. So now we need to go into our or we're still going to be in our photos.xml, and we're going to have to look at the size of our table rows. So you notice here that the padding is 15 SP for the images. 15 SP padding, 15 SP padding. Let's go ahead and drop that all the way down to 1. We don't really need that much space or padding in between our image and our text. So if we then sync that, there should be less space in between our image and text. So you see there's much less space in between our text and our image. But our image sizes are still way too big. So you'll notice here with our image view, we have it set up to wrap content. Instead, let's change it to, let's say 100 dp by 100 dp. We'll sync that and just check to see how the first one looks. Because if the first one looks awful, what's the point of changing the other two? So we sync to make sure everything's on the up and up. Then we run again. We click photos. And our first image becomes much smaller. So let's go ahead and do that for our other two. So instead of layout width, layout height, wrap content, we're going to change them just as we did the first one to each be 100 dp. So now we've done that for the second image view. Now we're going to do it for the third image view. And then when we file sync and run again, all of our images should now be that same 100 by 100 display pixels. So they're all that same 100 by 100 now. You noticed initially that third image was bigger than the others. So it's kind of distorted them a little bit, but that's fine. But you notice our text is still cut off, even though we can see more of it. That is because all of them are set up of a width of 600 display pixels. So if we, let's say, drop them down to 300, so each text view, Android layout width, let's drop them from 600 to 300. And leave the height as wrap content because we're going to be changing the text anyway. So then we file sync. And run again. And ideally now all of our text will fit around that image. So now when we click photos, you'll notice that the majority of the text fits around our image and it is doing the wrap text. So if it doesn't fit on a line, it drops it down in the next line and so on and so forth. The only thing little cut off is that the end of the N. But like I said, we're going to change this text right now. So that doesn't matter really. So let's open whatever images you download. So the first one there that I downloaded, Italy 1. So that looks like a gondola ride. So when I go into strings.xml, where it says TV bike here, we're going to delete all of that text that's currently there. And I'm going to say, just enjoy a gondola ride. And I think I spelled it wrong. Oh, well. Then I'm going to check my second image. And that looks like just a random boat basin, a dock. But you notice how beautiful the water is. So for TV barge, which was the original second picture, I'm going to delete that text and say, and the gorgeous color of our water. Then I'm going to check the last image I downloaded. And that looks like Colosseum or something. So for TV Budapest, which was initially our third image, I'm going to delete that text and say, or tour our amazing history. And I go ahead and file sync that. Now, when I go into that photos option, it now has that specific text we just modified. Enjoy a gondola ride and the gorgeous color of our water. Our tour our amazing history. And you notice that we have room here to where if we decided we wanted to, we could either make our images a little bigger, maybe 120 display pixels, which will put our text right up against the right-hand side, or we could add 3 or 4 more images here to fill in the rest of the space. So I'm going to go ahead and close strings and our 3 images. And now we're going to talk about these Java files here. So you notice if you open the placeholder folder, there's a Java file there called placeholder content. So we have our public class placeholder. We're creating an array list of all of these specific items. The first one is photos. The first one, and the second one rather, is tour. The last one is website. So, people don't really use the term photos too much these days, especially with, like things like Snapchat and Instagram. So if we were to go ahead and change that from photos to, let's say, snapshots, and instead of tour, actually, what do we have under tour? So this is kind of, more like a promotional thing. Italy has the best touring spots, places to eat, and best seasons. Join us for your dream vacation. So maybe we change that text from tour to promo. And then maybe instead of website, we say, check out our website. And then for the website itself, what do we want to change it to? It could be anything random like Italy.com, tourofitaly.com. I don't know any specific, if we click on it, if it would specifically go to that website. Maybe we could just do something easy. I don't know, like olivegarden.com. No, we got a suggestion. Okay, Italia.com. So we changed that bikebarge.com to Italia.com. Our next function adds those items to the list. Then we create another function which places them in the order we've just declared them. And then our last function Make sure that they're set up as strings. So that we know everything is now within our view. So if we now go ahead and sync, our display should now say snapshots promo and check out our website. We go ahead and run. Snapshots promo, check out our website. So snapshots is now the photos. Promo is now that tours page. And check out our website. Let's see if it goes to Italia.com. Nope, it gave us the pop-up here for, where was it? I think it was this one, activity. That looks right. So instead of giving the actual website, it went through and created that little pop-up display with the little, what looked like a text box. But that is how you would edit what's within your placeholder there. If we wanted to add something else, we could. When we click on it, it's not going to go anywhere because we don't have any thing set up for it. Each of those had a viewing page: tour, photos, item list, content, etc. So next we're going to check in this item detail fragment. This utilizes that placeholder content and initially assigns everything an action. So when we click on it, it goes through to the associated page. And here you see the most important aspect of that. So we click on that photos. It refers to the photos.xml viewing option. If you click on tour, it uses that tour.xml. And if you clicked on the last one, it would go to the item underscore detail. So then it's referring to this fragment one here, which shows you that action bar and that little pop-up with the what looked like a text box. Which they consider to be a floating action button, is how they define it. So we have this webview.load URL, and we have it set up to load those details instead of the website itself. So we did a couple weeks ago an instance where it actually loaded the website. So you've seen that as well. Next, we look in our item detail host activity. Which again now refers to our layouts. In this instance, it's the fragment item detail, which is tied to that third option we clicked. So normally, if you were doing an app, you'd want to set it up the way we did a couple weeks ago. Or if you have some kind of option like that to check out a website, you just have it checked. And once it's clicked, it goes right to the website. And then lastly, we have this item list fragment file here, this Java class. So that is, in essence, what is creating our, or what is being seen on our first page here, item list fragment. And it uses a viewing pane to provide us with that list that we had, we see. And it takes those items and puts them in the exact order we set up in our placeholder content. And creates our item views based on all of our different associated XML files. And it utilizes that holder that we set up, view holder, to allow us to include all of those items within our specific aspect. So the reason that this says item list fragment is that is the name of our class here. If we went ahead and decided to change this to be, I don't know, George, we would have to change the name here, public class item list fragment to George. And then when we run, it would indicate that it was George. That item underscore detail back button function is set up within our item detail fragment page here. Hopefully I can find it. There we go. So that root view item underscore detail. And I think I've shown you this before, But within some of these examples I've shown you, you'll notice that the themes folder has a 2 next to it, and you open it, and there's a regular and a night. The primary difference between the two is that the night is going to be a darker background. So if you were to go into your views, let's say tour, for example, it's setting up its own text view, title, etc. If you wanted to utilize this theme, so yeah, dark mode base. Yep, exactly. So you see in the initial, there's a lot of different positive colors, whereas the night mode, there's a lot more darker colors. We'll get dark purple, black, etc. So as, who was that? I think it was Dwayne pointed out. It's basically like a dark mode. Like you have the background might be completely black, a darker color, like the dark purple here, depending on who you might want to use. So depending on which one you'd want to use, you would have to open your Android manifest.xml, and here where it says Android theme at style/theme.please, you would look in this theme, and okay, the first one is called please. Let's see what the dark one is called. That's also called please. But if we change the dark one to say, let's say 3, we would go back into that Android manifest.xml and put please 3 and run it. And then the darker version would be visible. So instead of the white background, it would probably be some combination of that black, dark purple, etc. Now, it's beyond our purposes, but some apps you might have to have backup rules associated with them. Let's say you have an app where you're typing in, financial information. You don't want people to lose that information, or let's say login information. So there's going to be backup rules which allow that information to be backed up or stored within the app. Same thing with data extraction rules. You might want to be able to find information. So those are within the XML folder themselves. So if you opened up the backup_rules.xml, you see it's very basic in nature because we don't really need anything involved here. So all it's doing is, okay, we're going to back up the content from the app. It's just going to be stored. No big deal. Whereas with the data_extraction rules, same thing, very basic in nature because we're not really doing all that much. We're going to transfer information. We download it, we send it to where it needs to go, but we could exclude certain information. So that's why you see there's like basically nothing in these two because we're not really utilizing. but I did just want to point them out because it was right there within the Android manifest.xml. So again, this is another option you could use. You want me to activate it? Okay, let's go ahead and let's make that themes. Let's change it to please 3. And then run. Where was it? There we go. The theme as please 3. And hopefully it updates. And you can see the slight difference. And now it doesn't want to run. Is it not going to run on me? So like I showed you, in the initial themes, you have, a lighter purple, a darker purple, a white, a teal, a darker teal, and a black. And in the night or dark mode, the white becomes black. I don't know. Decided not to run or decided not to load. Something happened with it. Let's try it again. Italy doors keep stopping. I know, we don't want it to. We want it to run. The other possibility we could try, Dwayne, is let's go ahead and make that back to please, and then just delete this initial themes there so that we only have our night theme, and then go back into our Android manifest XML and change that from please 3 to please. All right. And hopefully it actually runs this time. Basically, it's just going to make the background color black instead of white. As Dwayne pointed out, just basically dark mode. No, and it still won't load for us. So I guess Dwayne is right. He'll have to check that out later today. All right. So as a reminder, last homework assignment, due Sunday night. Thinking of in terms of privacy and protection, provide a response on how you'd monetize your app once you discover that you might have to pay for stuff like that to avoid hacking, compromising personal information. Again, I pointed out here, there's this document here, creating a back button with one function instead of all that code like you saw in the 3 different Java files. But, you're going to obviously add other aspects to this. This is just literally going to create that back button that said the item underscore detail. That's all this is going to do, is going to create a little back button for you. And then you would have the associated XML code with it. So you would basically have this in your activity underscore main file. Although in this instance, it was called activity underscore page underscore 2. And then the Java file was called page 2 activity. But again, all that would do is just create a back button. You would have to add all your other information within your code. So again, there's 1 or 2 of you that still owe me app 3 from last week. Go ahead and make sure that you get that to me as soon as you can so that I can update your grade. And again, want to reach out to your new group members, and that'll be it. Like I said, next week we'll go through 2 more examples, and then it's basically all about the group project and meeting and asking me questions based on your specific needs. Like I said, your apps don't have to be, insane. Like you built the app 3, like you could technically set that up. I think one of you did like Pokemon cards or Pokemon characters. You could set it up basically using that same thing. This Charizard card, when you click on it, you could have another, you could create, see how we have multiple layout. So you could have a Charizard.xml that would just have information here like, oh, the card is currently worth $37. You can purchase them on eBay. And that could technically be all your app is. It doesn't have to be anything too crazy because we've basically only gone over some basic concepts. All right, so everybody enjoy your weekend. If there's no questions, I'll see everybody on Monday. Thank you, Dwayne.